right now on 5 on Your Side at 10.
Tragedy tonight for the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department.
We're devastated. We're heartbroken.
A veteran officer killed in the line of duty while responding to a crash.
Great man, great husband, great son, great father, great brother, great friend, great co-worker.
Tonight, the St. Louis community mourns the loss of Officer David Lee.
Tonight, I ask our entire city and our region to be the comfort that the Lee family needs.
Good evening. I'm Mike Bush. Officer Lee spent nearly 20 years on the force. This morning, he made his final call responding to a single car crash on I-70. 5 on Your Side's Laura Barczewski starts her team coverage tonight with new information about a second crash that took the officer's life.
Mike, Chief Robert Tracy says Officer David Lee is the 167th St. Louis Metropolitan Police officer to die in the line of duty. His colleagues say he would do anything for anyone if it meant he could help them.
We are going to transport him in a police vehicle.
So you wanted to meet you, so you're going to transport him in a police vehicle.
Way on the interstate, they just got off of Grand. We'll be there in just a minute.
That was just moments after St. Louis police officer David Lee was hit by a car while responding to a single car crash on I-70 near Grand on this rainy Sunday morning.
Officer Lee was behind his patrol car, retrieving traffic cones when a vehicle traveling eastbound lost control, spun out, and hit Officer Lee.
The woman Lee was trying to help happened to be an off-duty Ferguson firefighter. When he was hit, Chief Tracy says she jumped into action, risking her own life to try and save his.
She got on his radio, asking for help. An officer in need of aid call was dispatched.
St. Louis firefighters were able to rush him to St. Louis University Hospital, where he died during emergency surgery with his fellow brothers and sisters in blue by his side.
Officer Lee served with the traffic division for 4 years with us, and I mean he was a very quiet person. The nicest guy, would do anything for you.
Officers then escorted Lee through downtown, all the way to the medical examiner's office.
Officer Lee leaves behind a wife and 2 children. We will be by their side, helping in any way we can as they go through their darkest hours.
How important are the move over, slow down laws and people really following those? Because this can happen to tow truck drivers, other first responders who go to a scene.
We've done dozens of missions this year working with with Missouri Highway Patrol and our county counterparts on I-70, on 64, on 44. We've done these and we continue to do that, and we're trying to change the behavior of individuals and their driving habits. But sometimes there can be other factors that we're factoring in.
Chief Tracy says they did detain the man who hit Officer Lee. Investigators say the 24-year-old driver was showing signs of impairment after the crash. St. Louis Circuit Attorney Gabe Gore says he's working closely with police as they investigate.
We anticipate that when that investigation is complete, they will be applying for charges, if that's the determination that is made, to our office.
We're devastated. We're heartbroken. But we will continue to serve and protect the city of St. Louis and make our fallen colleague proud.
Reporting downtown, Laura Barczewski, 5 on Your Side.
Officer Lee was an 18-year veteran of the force. Again, he leaves behind a wife and children. Lee was 44 years old. According to those who knew him, the St. Louis native was a 1998 graduate of Pattonville High School. And this is video of Officer Lee from back in March. He was one of the officers who responded to the downtown crash that caused Tennessee teen Janae Edmondson to lose her legs. Officer Lee testified at the trial of the driver, Daniel Riley. Tonight, the flags outside the North Patrol Division are at half-staff as a memorial grows around a police cruiser draped in black bunting. Our Annie Krall continues our team coverage. She spoke with friends and fellow St. Louis officers tonight as the community mourns the loss of Officer Lee.
These barriers on Union Boulevard were a new and quick addition on Sunday so people can safely pull over and pay their respects to Officer David Lee, someone who was a veteran on the force that you could go to for anything, officers tell me.
He was always there to give a helping hand to anybody that was in need.
St. Louis Metro Police K-9 officer Heather Moore knew Officer Lee for years after working with him in District 6, saying she was heartbroken after getting the call on Sunday afternoon about his death.
I knew I had to be supportive to my coworkers, to my friends, because David Lee is and will always be a special person. And I knew many people loved him as the man and officer that he was.
Sunday night, Chief Robert Tracy and Mayor Tashara Jones laying flowers outside North Patrol.
I ask our entire city and our region to be the comfort that the Lee family needs and deserves as their lives are upended by this terrible tragedy.
Across the state, even more support pouring out. St. Louis 8th Ward Alderwoman Kara Spencer posting on social media, "My heart is with the family of Officer David Lee and his fellow officers." Missouri U.S. Senator Josh Hawley saying, "Aaron and I send our deepest condolences and heartfelt appreciation to the family of Officer David Lee killed in the line of duty." U.S. Senate candidate Lucas Kuntz also remembering Lee saying, quote, "St. Louis lost a real public servant."
This is a part of the profession that we do not like to deal with. We have to accept it at this point. I would just say we need to be here in support of one another.
St. Louis police officers tell me it's still too soon to share any details about a fundraiser to support Officer Lee's family and especially his 2 children. Reporting in North St. Louis, Annie Krall, 5 on your side.
And Officer Lee's death is being felt across the area. Police in St. Louis County showing their support to their neighboring department. Chief Kenneth Gregory sent this message saying, quote, "It's a profound tragedy and my thoughts are with his family, friends, and colleagues during this incredibly difficult time. His dedication and service will always be remembered." The Ethical Society of Police also reacting today to Officer Lee's death. Leaders there remember the officer as someone who lit up a room and was loved by everyone he met.
It is also friends that are affected by this. David Lee had quite a few friends on this department. You know, I would see him every day in the lobby, and it would just be just his smile and a greeting that sometimes that's all you need from a coworker. And so I'm gonna miss that more than anything.
Backstoppers, the nonprofit that helps the families of fallen officers, released a statement tonight. Executive Director and former St. Louis County Police Chief Ron Battelle says, quote, "My heart goes out to the family, friends, and co-workers of Officer David Lee. Officer Lee will forever be honored and remembered as a hero. Please pray for the Lee family, the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, and for everyone who knew and loved Officer Lee." Lieutenant Governor Mike Keogh also reacting on X earlier today. Keogh saying, quote, "We must never forget the immense sacrifices the law enforcement community makes to keep us safe." As we learn more, we will keep you up to date on this story. More on air, online at KSDK.com, and on the 5+ streaming app. In just 36 hours, the state of Missouri is set to execute Marcellus Williams. Tomorrow, the Missouri Supreme Court will hear arguments on the latest appeal to get him off death row. Williams is convicted of killing St. Louis Post-Dispatch reporter Felicia Gale back in 1998. St. Louis County Prosecutor Wesley Bell is asking the court to send the case back to circuit court, claiming new evidence of innocence and alleged racial bias in jury selection. Williams is set to die by lethal injection Tuesday at 6 p.m. All right, let's get to our weather impact forecast. Fall officially arrived this morning with some rain and cooler temperatures. Meteorologist Gary Frank is tracking more rain for the start of the work week.
Yeah, good evening, Mike. And it was welcome rain. We started off, first time in a while, you've been able to lay in bed, rain, quiet start to the morning, not hot. And, you know, overall, we're going to see something similar tomorrow as this front moves through. It's dry right now, and you're going to go to bed and probably not wake up in the middle of the night with loud thunder like I did this morning. However, it's calm, and you'll see there's no rain. But temperatures have fallen a little bit. We're at 74. We still have a north-northeast breeze, and it's still humid. We did get to 83 today, which is still above average, as that rain is quiet out there right now. We'll look off to our southwest along this front, and we're already starting to see maybe a few showers start to develop along 44. That's the primary location along this front that I expect more storms to develop into the overnight hours. Not for a while, though, even through 1 and 2, 3 o'clock, maybe a couple of showers as we fall into the mid-60s. But for tomorrow, those chances will ramp up the later a commuter that you are. If you're an early commuter, those are going to start to ramp up a little bit more for the tail end of your commute. And then even by the way home, it's going to affect everybody throughout the rest of the day. And that's what we'll highlight here over the next few days, because the main weather impact this week is the drought is over. We're going to see not only this rain tomorrow, but down the road as well. And yes, another tropical influence will play into that. We'll talk about how those two merge, combine, and just how cool it's going to be for the rest of the week.
His recovery was miraculous.
turns into a journey of healing. Coming up, one teen's path back to the basketball court and the assist from a local group getting him there.
Making a Difference is sponsored by Midwest Bank Center.
Well, we've all heard the phrase against all odds, but there's a local young man rewriting that definition. In tonight's Making a Difference report, a story of determination that begins with heartbreak and ends with hope. Some might think Rankin Jordan is a place of setbacks, but they're actually in the business of comebacks. For 14-year-old Braden Bear, that comeback seemed like a long shot.
When he arrived here at Rankin, all he could do was move his right arm slightly from his stomach to his chest and move his one leg slightly.
One moment, Braden was heading to school with his sister. The next, their world shattered in a violent collision.
At the end of our subdivision, there is Interstate 40. As she was pulling left out of our subdivision onto 40, she was hit on the side by another driver.
The impact left this high school basketball player clinging to life. 2 collapsed lungs, a severe traumatic brain injury, and a future that seemed to crumble before his parents' eyes.
I just, kept asking them to just please tell me my babies are okay.
For 42 agonizing days, Braden fought for survival in intensive care. And when he finally got to Rankin, his future was filled with question marks.
We measure how functional a patient is when they get here, and then we measure along the way. It's a scale that he was at the lowest possible number for his overall function.
What the doctors didn't know, though, was that Braden had always been a fighter.
That's awesome, Braden. Stand up, buddy.
One who gave nothing less than everything.
His coaches said that he's the 150% kind of boy who comes in every day at practice, not focusing on himself, but focusing on what he can do to make the team better.
And Braden's iron will found its perfect sparring partner.
And we're going to do 10 on each side.
A Rankin care team
Nice.
that knows how to turn grit into progress.
There you go.
It was like frustration because I couldn't do the things that I loved to do, but it was motivation. It turned into motivation until I get there.
Stand up tall, Bubs.
Day by day,
Nice.
therapy session after therapy session, Braden went from barely moving to dribbling a basketball.
There we go. Yeah. The therapist even had said that I think he does better walking with the basketball.
With the basketball.
Because he was dribbling it down the hallways at Rankin here.
4, 5, and switch.
His recovery so remarkable,
There you go.
it left even his doctors doing a double take.
His recovery was miraculous. There's no other way to describe it.
Now Braden's back in school and back on the court. His eyes set on an even bigger prize.
I just really want to get back to the basketball player I was.
For Braden Bear, every small step brings him closer to that goal.
Right arm and left leg, lift
The
him up.
game-changing assist
Good.
came from the team in scrubs.
That one looked really good. You know that you can't do it without wonderful people, and we're so thankful.
Creating a prescription for the best medicine.
When you think about the future now, what do you think about?
I think about basketball in school. That's my main things I'm focused about.
There you go.
At Rankin Jordan, they may rebuild bodies,
Good job today, bud.
but it's the spirit they restore that truly changes the game.
Every single time here, I feel like I get better and better.
I know, you're getting stronger. Everyone here is just unbelievable.
And I was lucky enough to MC the Rankin Jordan Gala last night, where Braden's story was one of many that inspired donors to make sure that Rankin helps even more kids in the years to come. A reminder, if you know someone making a difference for others, let me know by email at mbush@ksdk.com.
Temperatures throughout the region obviously impacted by this cold front, which brought us much needed rain, but we avoided the 80s and 90s. Those have come and gone. The 70s will be here tomorrow. How that rain will impact our temperatures well and how long we can hold on to this cooler weather.
Well, the weather put the brakes on day 2 of the Pedal the Cause bike ride. The annual event gathers thousands of riders to raise money for cancer research. Organizers held an indoor celebration instead earlier today at the St. Charles Family Arena. And now meteorologist Gary Frank joins us with that weather impact forecast. We know we saw some rain today, and Gary, it looks like we're going to see at least a little more rain earlier this week.
Yeah, I think for the most part, we're going to see more of an active pattern, you know, and we got almost 2 inches of rain today. That's our highest daily rainfall total in 75 days. And it's been a while since we've seen that kind of soaking rain. And I know there are several of you that have posted and said, I didn't get all that much rain, especially to the north. However, we did see some pretty decent totals. When you look at this from a big perspective, like I said, 2 inches of rain or so. We got a little more in Chesterfield, some of the areas in West County, like Wildwood got over 3 inches, Belleville about an inch, and then it was not quite as impressive in St. Charles or Rolla. Those numbers will start to come up over the next 24 hours, so we'll get you some rain here as well. Temps have fallen in the 50s and 60s here, mid 70s behind it here, and that's where the front settles in. You can see even cooler behind that, but as we're along that front, that's where the rain is moving at this time. And while there's not a lot of rain right now, you'll see where this development starts to settle in. That's what we're going to look at for the next several hours. It's widespread or scattered showers throughout the day, but this is where most of the heat of the day has been. That's where the stronger thunderstorms will be. But we'll see that start to develop here as we see kind of a nose into the overnight hours of moisture that feeds into that front. And that's where I think we'll see this by 7 o'clock in the morning. So the first part of your commute between 5 and 7, a little less wet, but it's going to start to be a little more wet by that time. And that's where I think we're going to start to see some heavier rain pockets throughout the area. So keep that in mind. I think things are going to be slow. So prepare an extra few minutes for that commute. By midday, I think maybe we get a break and then another round of rain. So just expect rain off and on throughout the day. I don't think there's going to be a huge break. There'll be breaks in intensity, but still, it's going to rain most of the day in some fashion. So if you missed out on the rain today, you're going to get more of it tomorrow. Like I said, there's going to be a bulk of that in the commute, and then we'll see maybe minor breaks here and there, but it's just going to rain, and it's going to be cool. So as far as additional rainfall is concerned throughout the next 24 hours, some of these numbers are starting to trend up a little bit more. Like I said, I think that we'll see at least a half an inch in the immediate metro. There will be pockets where you don't get quite as much, but still, as long as that front kind of hangs around, we'll watch out for pockets of rain all the way through Tuesday morning. Now, as we talk about the next several days, what you'll notice here by Tuesday, as this front starts to move out, we'll see an upper low that works its way to the south and kind of sits here. There's not much to push it out. Then we'll also be tracking another tropical system, and as that works its way in, you'll notice how both of them kind of sit here, kind of merge into one, and this is still Saturday. That means our weather pattern is kind of not going to change all that much, and it's going to be cooler. Another upper low drives. What that means is it's going to be cooler than average for the next few days. But as far as how this is going to impact us, I don't think this is not even formed. We're going to watch the tropics over the next few days. There's going to be a lot of scattered rain by next weekend, and while rain is likely, there's going to be a lot of this that varies. So we go from the mid 70s here the next few days, showers for Monday, and then we're going to be in the mid 70s here, and then one day where we're back in the low 80s. But I'll tell you what, it's really going to start to feel like fall over the next few days. By next weekend, I think, you know, we're already going to say that it's raining again. Now it feels like fall. That's where we're going to start to send to the crock pot weather and stuff like that. So, you know, we haven't had to do that in a while.
No, we have
90s
not.
And it's hot, and it's going to feel like it a little more this week.
And so we're done with the 90s, you
No,
think?
I don't. I never say that because we still get there in October. But
right.
we're edging closer.
Yeah. Gary, thanks. Well, a return to normalcy after tragedy. The plan to get students at a Georgia high school back to class to begin the healing process. Tonight, the U.S. State Department is warning Americans to get out of Lebanon as Hezbollah says it's now in an open-ended battle with Israel. The Lebanese paramilitary group says it fired more than 100 rockets across northern Israel today. Israeli officials say 3 people were injured. Hezbollah says it's in retaliation for the death of one of its commanders. U.S. officials are working to prevent an all-out war. Tonight, we're learning more about a mass shooting in Birmingham, Alabama that left 4 people dead and 17 others injured. Right now, the search is underway for multiple suspects police say fired into a crowd in a popular entertainment district. Investigators believe one of the victims was the target. This week, students will return to Appalachia High School in Georgia more than 2 weeks after 2 students and 2 teachers were killed in a mass shooting. The district is hosting an open house tomorrow. A half day of classes is planned for Tuesday. The part of the school where the 4 victims were killed will be closed for the rest of the year.
It was hard even being there myself, you know, given the fact that I was in that room where I was practicing, where I was in that room whenever it happened. And just to be in there in that moment, you know, it was scary, but to know that we have a strong community.
The local sheriff says a teenager was arrested today for an alleged threat on the school. Stay right there. Another 30 minutes of news, weather, and sports coming up, followed by Sports Plus and The Record.
This is 5 on your side at 10. Focused on you.
We're devastated. We're heartbroken.
Tonight, the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department continues to mourn one of their own. Officer David Lee was hit by a car this morning on I-70 while responding to another crash. He later died at the hospital. 5 on your side's Laura Barczewski now has new information on what led to the officer's death.
Mike, Chief Robert Tracy says Officer David Lee is the 167th St. Louis Metropolitan Police officer to die in the line of duty. His colleagues say he would do anything for anyone if it meant he could help them.
We are going to transport him in a police vehicle.
Where you want to meet you? Where are you going to transport him in a police vehicle?
Way on the interstate, they just got off of Grand. We'll be there in just a minute.
That was just moments after St. Louis police officer David Lee was hit by a car while responding to a single-car crash on I-70 near Grand on this rainy Sunday morning.
Officer Lee was behind his patrol car, retrieving traffic cones when a vehicle traveling eastbound lost control, spun out, and hit Officer Lee.
The woman Lee was trying to help happened to be an off-duty Ferguson firefighter. When he was hit, Chief Tracy says she jumped into action, risking her own life to try and save his.
She got on his radio, asking for help. An officer in need of aid call was dispatched.
St. Louis firefighters were able to rush him to St. Louis University Hospital, where he died during emergency surgery with his fellow brothers and sisters in blue by his side.
Officer Lee served with the traffic division for 4 years with us, and I mean he was a very quiet person. The nicest guy, would do anything for you.
Officers then escorted Lee through downtown, all the way to the medical examiner's office.
Officer Lee leaves behind a wife and 2 children. We will be by their side, helping in any way we can as they go through their darkest hours.
How important are the move over, slow down laws and people really following those? Because this can happen to tow truck drivers, other first responders who go to a scene.
We've done dozens of missions this year working with with Missouri Highway Patrol and our county counterparts on I-70, on 64, on 44. We've done these and we continue to do that, and we're trying to change the behavior of individuals and their driving habits. But sometimes there can be other factors that we're factoring in.
Chief Tracy says they did detain the man who hit Officer Lee. Investigators say the 24-year-old driver was showing signs of impairment after the crash. St. Louis Circuit Attorney Gabe Gore says he's working closely with police as they investigate.
We anticipate that when that investigation is complete, they will be applying for charges, if that's the determination that is made, to our office.
We're devastated. We're heartbroken. But we will continue to serve and protect the city of St. Louis and make our fallen colleague proud.
Reporting downtown, Laura Barczewski, 5 on your side.
And tonight, the police chief and Mayor Tashara Jones laid flowers at a growing memorial outside North Patrol. A police cruiser is draped in black bunting. Officer Lee spent a majority of his 18 years with SLMPD at North Patrol before moving to the traffic division. The 44-year-old, as we mentioned, leaves behind a wife and 2 children. Backstoppers and the St. Louis Police Foundation are organizing donations for the fallen officer's family. Our coverage continues right now on KSDK.com and the 5 on Your Side app. There you can read more condolences for Officer Lee, and we'll bring you any updates on air, online, and on the 5+ streaming app. Protecting yourself against flu and COVID. Tonight we verify if you can schedule both shots at the same time and if it's safe.
It's quiet right now. After a loud overnight, we may see something similar in some regard tomorrow morning. How much rain is expected to fall and how it's going to slow you down Monday morning.
Cold and flu season is quickly approaching, which means it's time to get your annual shots. And tonight our Verify team looks into if it's safe to get the flu vaccine and your COVID booster at the same time. Here's Brandon Lewis.
Walk into any pharmacy and you're probably inundated with advertisements urging you to get a flu shot and an updated COVID-19 vaccine. Several people on social media are wondering if it's safe to get both vaccines at the same time, or if they should space the 2 shots out. So let's verify. Can a person get the COVID-19 vaccine and the flu shot at the same time? Our sources are the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Food and Drug Administration, Dr. Payal Kohli with the University of Colorado, and Dr. Sarah Lynn Mark, a former senior medical advisor to the White House. Traditionally, the flu vaccine is administered in the fall, ahead of peak flu season in the winter. For the past 3 years, we've also seen cases of COVID-19 spike during these same months as people gathered for the holidays. The CDC studied self-reported data from more than 92,000 people who received a booster shot and a flu shot during the 2021 flu season and concluded it is safe to administer both vaccines at the same time. The study found that about 10% more people who received both vaccines reported typical symptoms associated with them, like fatigue, headache, and muscle ache, than those who only received the COVID-19 booster. But the reactions were usually mild and went away quickly. So, yes, a person can get the COVID-19 vaccine and the flu shot at the same time. Both Drs. Kohli and Mark tell Verify getting the 2 shots is more convenient and may encourage more people to get vaccinated against the flu and COVID-19. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
And before scheduling your COVID shot, check with your insurance company. A federal program providing free vaccines ended last month. What would you like us to verify? Send us an email to verify@ksdk.com. Meteorologist Gary Frank rejoins us now with that weather impact forecast.
Yeah, as we continue to monitor the progress of this front, it's going to be important as we look at development for rain along that. And you'll notice behind it, it's much cooler. We've at least dropped to 72. That's 2 degrees difference from the last time I saw you. So we're at least improving there. But the cooler weather is going to be behind this front tomorrow. And you'll see that it's going to split us pretty good tomorrow. But more rain will start to fill in closer to Springfield, between Springfield and Kansas City, right along 44 really. And that's what we're going to watch out for. You're starting to see a few showers from Branson and here. That's what's going to fill in into the overnight hours, especially over the next 3 hours, and then eventually work its way in. So check in with Anthony. But I do think for the second half of your commute, there are going to be some pockets of heavy rain, really slowing things down. So be prepared for that. I think that's starting to line up. And these are going to be some heavy rain producers where you're going to see a quick ½ an inch to an inch over the course of an hour or two. Then we may get a break by lunchtime, and then another round starts to fill in for the second half of the day. Gentle showers, a storm or two here and there before things finally fade for the second half of the day. For tomorrow, though, we start off in the mid-60s. Those chances for rain really increase after 7 o'clock, and I think they're around with us through most of the day. However, we're only going to get in the low 70s. We get a light breeze out of the northwest, and really I think tomorrow, like today, where that front is focused as it moves south, we'll see pockets of rain here and there where some of us are going to get some very beneficial rain, where others to the north not getting all that much at times. We will have better opportunities down the road. And once again, we look at the tropics, and this is starting to become a little more impressive here as we look at it on Sunday night in our tropical track here. It doesn't have a name yet. It's not a tropical depression yet, but this is going to be something that we look at over the next 2 days because it's going to get both of those. But as we watch it kind of meander through the Gulf of Mexico, hit warm Gulf waters, and at some point impact Alabama, Florida, and perhaps New Orleans, but I think it's really somewhere around the Gulf. It's the direction it turns. It doesn't turn up the eastern seaboard. It may turn toward us. And the reason for that is we're going to watch this upper low dive south. Watch this here. And that's what's affecting us right now. It's bringing us cooler weather. It'll be south of us by Wednesday and Thursday, and we're okay. But as it sits here, it doesn't really go anywhere. It sits here and kind of merges with whatever tropical system develops. And as it does so, that's where I think things get a little interesting for us the next few days. It's definitely going to be cooler, but the track and timing and totals of rain are all going to change. And I think this forecast is going to change a bunch. So I want to get ahead of this for the next few days and just show you, because I think we're going to be cool. There's no doubt about that. And once we get rid of that rain, it'll be cloudy on Tuesday. However, we're going to see things increase by Thursday and Friday as that low sits here, and then we start to work our way into that tropical system by next weekend, and it brings our temperatures down and our rain chances up.
I'm Paul Cook, your traffic guy on Today in St. Louis, and we're on the move in the Metro East. And we're taking a look at an ongoing road safety issue in O'Fallon, Illinois. A TikTok video showing dozens of motorists backed up on I-64 waiting to get off exit 16 to Greenmount Road is drawing attention to a dangerous traffic issue. The video went viral recently, catching the attention of Illinois Congresswoman Nikki Baczynski. Representative Baczynski reached out to IDOT Secretary Omer Osman for help. In a letter, she describes it as a chronic issue for drivers trying to get to O'Fallon and Shiloh. She says, quote, the right-hand turn lane toward O'Fallon is so backed up that it's spilling onto the interstate. You can see from the video how surprising a backup like this can be for drivers if they aren't expecting it. The Congresswoman goes on to say the backup poses a safety risk for motorists because they're forced to navigate through the standstill. There are plans in the works to improve the area. She's urging IDOT to speed up the expansion project. The bad news, IDOT says expediting the project isn't possible. Paul Wappel says the department's working as quickly as we can to complete the final design and has to comply with all the legal steps to acquire any necessary land that's needed. Right now, construction on the 2.7-mile project will start in 2025. It's expected to wrap up in 2027. I'll keep you updated on any changes. Stay safe out there. Paul Cook, 5 on your side.
The fight on Capitol Hill on the right to IVF. Tonight, senators from both sides of the river and aisle go on the record about protecting fertility treatments. This week, the U.S. Senate failed to pass a bill that would provide nationwide protections for IVF procedures. Illinois Senator Tammy Duckworth sponsored the plan, but 44 Republicans voted it down, including both senators from Missouri. On this week's episode of The Record, political editor Mark Maxwell hears from Senator Duckworth and Missouri Senator Eric Schmitt about the now failed Right to IVF Act.
When you put this bill together, I imagine you must have had input from hospital groups or from medical providers. Are you hearing from anyone in particular? Because Alabama went back and they changed course, right?
No, they did not. They did not. Their state Supreme Court ruled that a fertilized egg is an extrauterine child with the same rights as the woman who would carry it, and that you would be liable for manslaughter for destruction of that fertilized egg. And then their uproar happened because all the fertility clinics ceased treatment because doctors were immediately afraid that they could be charged with murder or manslaughter for discarding those fertilized eggs. So then they went back and very quickly passed legislation that's just simply said, we're not going to prosecute. And did not say that discarding fertilized eggs as part of IVF is not a crime. They simply said, we're not going to prosecute. And that is something that they can change under the next governor. They can change that under the next legislative session anytime that they want. So they never dealt with the fundamental issue that their Supreme Court said fertilized eggs are human beings, and if you destroy them, you are liable potentially for manslaughter and murder. All they said is that we're not going to prosecute as long as you do it as part of IVF.
You've mentioned Donald Trump a few times in your press conference this week during that floor vote. Out on the campaign trail, Trump is now saying he wants insurance companies to cover the cost of IVF. Now, you may not believe he'll ever deliver on that promise, but do you agree with the premise, with the idea? I mean, this is typically an expensive, elective operation. Should insurance companies cover all the out-of-pocket cost for IVF?
It doesn't matter if you say that you're going, as Donald Trump has said, that he's going to tell insurance companies to cover it, if you're not allowed to have access to it. It's like saying insurance companies, you have to cover insurance for automobiles, but in the meantime, you ban Americans being able to buy automobiles. You make buying automobiles a crime, right? So what's the point of having insurance coverage for something you're not allowed to do?
Just this week in the Senate, Senator Tammy Duckworth said her Right to IVF Act would have forced the largest health insurer in the nation, the federal government, to do that, to provide IVF starting there. Why did you vote against it?
Well, first of all, I support IVF. I know good friends that have gone through that process, and they deserve the respect to make sure it's protected. But here's the truth. It is protected. And so Chuck Schumer is trying to create an issue, and many people have taken the bait. And it's, I think it's really kind of disingenuous to scare people to think that IVF is at risk. It's not. It's not at risk. It's protected in Missouri. It's been protected in court cases. It's protected in law. And so I think, again, this is just an election year ploy. And Chuck Schumer, by the way, we have a looming government shutdown. The American people are struggling. We have 10 to 15 people here, 15 million people here illegally. We're not dealing with any of the issues that the American people are concerned about, real issues. IVF is important. It should be protected. It is protected. And by the way, I would also point out that you brought up insurance. Kamala Harris is on record for abolishing private health insurance. So you're not going to have any kind of protections for IVF if Kamala Harris gets in office, because she wants to end private health insurance altogether.
You can catch more of these stories and conversations tonight on The Record. That's coming up in about 40 minutes right after Sports Plus, and we'll be right back. Mayhem in Massachusetts caught on camera. 8 bulls escaped a rodeo outside a mall about 20 minutes northeast of Providence. 7 of the cattle were corralled in a nearby yard. Tonight, 1 remaining bull remains on the loose. And there you have it. 5 on your side at 10. Sports Plus with Frank Cusimano is next. Don't forget to start your day with Today in St. Louis. That begins at 4 a.m. And have a great tomorrow.